Hey there. Okay, welcome back. It's part 2 of my video on post-event reflections. And so the now what relative to DEI, or the principles that undergird these letters, the D and the E and the I. My work, as you probably know, focuses fairly exclusively in the area of race, equity, multiculturalism, preparing the world for the 2045 reality where America will be decidedly blacker and browner. And that means we just have to have more black and brown folks who are participating more healthily in our nation's economy. Welcome back. All right, as always, I'm going to start each of these videos with just a reminder that this represents my opinion, my counsel, my belief systems, my thoughts on this body of work, and what clearly informs the way that I practice within it. I don't offer this to persuade, to condemn, to criticize others that might have a different point of view. I just invite you to reflect and to think with me along these lines, and to the extent that it's helpful, great. If not, swipe it up. Okay, so the first video I talked about what must be true about us, the attributes that should have, in my opinion, always governed how we delivered against this work. That's true of both the internal practitioner or those like me who supported companies from the outside. The attributes of who we are in advocacy, that doesn't change because of the circumstances around you. It doesn't change because it got harder, right? So anyway, that's what we talked about. Those attributes are just super important. Go back and check out that video if you didn't see it. English. This video, I want to focus on just kind of understanding the natural ebb and flow and the ways that history just moves, and sometimes we don't understand it. And for this one, I think I shared that I talked to the women of the Rare Woman Collective, which is the racial equity program suite, that I lead with white women to teach them how to advocate for the dismantling of racism and creating equitable, thoughtful pathways where race-rooted conversations and explorations can live well in their homes and in their communities. So anyway, these are the talking points that I use to govern my talk with those ladies that evening. And I'm just going to read actually the second one because I don't want to miss any of this good stuff. Okay, so one of the things that I said was that history is filled with stories of triumph and resilience and overcoming and succumbing to all kinds of circumstances. These are the stories that oftentimes inspire us. We love to hear about these circumstances, and we love to tell these stories that we've heard. But if we're honest, none of us wants to live them. We don't want to live those stories of old that people had to really work through, grind through, suffer through, but learn through. We don't want to live them, but we love reading about it. And I suspect that it is our turn to live it. And so for those of you who are upset about the election results, then, and if you believe that the election was the result of racism or sexism or some sort of other ism, what you also have to believe is that those isms are natural to our world. They are where we default. The default inertia in the United States is to lean toward marginalization, muting, stunting, and diminishing of people who are different. We all know that. And so every single day we feed isms, knowingly or unknowingly. Doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not. To the extent that we're not actively working out of a thing, we are feeding a thing. And so isms are alive and they metastasize just like any other sickness, any other illness. It does what it does. I talked in the first video about how racism is a belief. And so we define in my company racism as the belief that black and brown people are inferior to white, and it's the policy structures, norms, attitudes, customs, and exercises that protect that belief. And so absent disruption to a belief, it will grow, it will flourish, right? And so what we see is just the natural growing and flourishing of an ism that has not yet been successfully curtailed. So absent a disruption that causes us to reevaluate, to reimagine, to interrogate these belief systems that give rise to all of these isms, they will continue to have their way with us. And I would also say that whatever isms are, at this point in our country's evolution, they are familiar. They're familiar to the people most impacted by them, people who look like me. And they're familiar to those who believe that they aren't as impacted by them. The familiarity, especially in times of like high stress when there's a lot at stake, familiarity almost always prevails, no matter how illogical, no matter how frustrating, no matter how poorly packaged. Familiarity will always reign over unassessed, unpacked, misunderstood new norms, new ways of believing. It's just how it works. So let me just suffice it to say that this is a natural ebb and flow of life. And if we are not careful, we will work ourselves into a frenzy such that the work that most of us purport to do, that we're excited to do, that we maybe even are purposed to do around inviting this country to be something that it has never been, inviting our brethren, our brothers and sisters, white, black, otherwise, into engagements that feel more natural, that feel less cumbersome, that feel less clumsy and clunky, that aren't burdened by the narratives of deficit versus winning, good versus bad, matter versus not mattering. Like, we're riddled with those definitions that are the noise of our life. And so as we are working to pull ourselves out of that noise, we have to be careful not to also be that noise. All right, that's what I got for video number 2.